Hi everyone, Pastor Dave. Today I'm going to talk about why, if you love Jesus, you should also love the idea of Medicare for all. Just from a straight compassion point of view, it should make sense. Because if you really are a Christian, you will have the values of non-judgment, meaning you'll leave whatever relationship somebody has with God or the divine or Jesus to themselves, and that you should not judge their interaction with Christ, unless, of course, they're doing something dangerous in society where they are harming people. So that's where you should be. You should be in that place of non-judgment, knowing full well that human beings are human beings, and we are, we don't really rise to the level of the values that we hope to embrace, but at least we should aspire to them. That's the minimum. We should aspire to certain values, and one of those values is non-judgment. And another value is forgiveness. And then, of course, another value is love. Within that contains a love of humanity, a real, genuine compassion for those that need, that those who are in trouble, where life is difficult, and you should be reaching out. Because you should want peace and love for everybody. I know that sounds terribly naive, but it's a value, it's a goal, it's an aspiration. It's something that you should make part of your thinking. Instead of being so afraid that government expansion means somehow the denial of your religious rights, is an idiotic leap that you should not be taking. And you're in taking that leap, that ridiculous assumption that more government control means less religious freedom for you, means that you're going to end up in a religious place of fear. And if you're in fear, you're not really being very spiritual. And you certainly aren't embracing the basic values of Christ. Now, I know that's an assumption, and you think Christianity should be more than just what I call the 4 steps, because not only are they 4 values, but they should be actually done in order, in that you should try to achieve a state of non-judgment, where you're not adding any kind of judgmental condemnation to other people who do not think like you or act like you. Now, we do have civil laws to protect us from people who try to physically harm us or take things or do things that are trying to harm my life. But when people live lives on their own accord, you should not be judgmental about how they live their lives. And because people are flawed and we oftentimes fall short, you should forgive not just everyone else, but yourself. Because if you're acting in a religious place of fear, then you're not acting as a Christian. You're not showing or sharing your compassion. You are living in fear. And that's not a very spiritual place for you to be. You can do better than that. You should do better than that. You should want to do better than that. So, that's why I make the assumption. I can tell that you're living in a state of religion and not a state of spirit, a state of fear instead of a state of love, because of your politics. And if your politics says no health care for anyone through the government, we do not want the government to provide any kind of health insurance so that everybody can have access to the supposed wonderful health care system in America. And that's just wrong. That's just not a Christian perspective. Your perspective comes from fear. Government control equals communism equals loss of religious freedom. all irrational, rooted in fear and hatred. If you really are a Christian, you can rise above your fear, you can show compassion, and you can recognize that the best solution for helping people in America make sure they have all the access to proper health care is through a single payer system, what we would call like Medicare for everyone in America. It doesn't mean you're going to lose your religion because that happens. And stop being so afraid of spending your fair share of taxes, because the truth of the matter is you won't have to buy health insurance. You're paying through the government. And yes, I understand the argument that the government can be terribly inefficient. And that's why it has to be constantly watched. But it's far better than a motivation of profit only by the commercial or industrial health industry complex. That definitely is going to cost more. And it's already been proven. Many studies have shown that a single payer option is even more efficient and covers everyone. Whereas our current system, which is constantly being ravaged by fear-based Republicans who refuse to either prop up Obamacare so that it does provide the necessary coverage, or to replace it with a Medicare for all system, which we are finally ready for. Enough people recognize this is the time. And if you're a Christian, you should be recognizing that this is the time. We need to do this. You should do it because you're a Christian, because you want everyone to be cared for, because you have that kind of agape compassion. You have that. And if you don't have it, and you're espousing this kind of religious perspective and justifying it through your sacred text that somehow you shouldn't provide, well, there's no rational reason why you would do that. No reason why you should oppose a single-payer healthcare system. You just shouldn't. If you really are a Christian, you should have this kind of human, kind, agape compassion, this love for humanity that would include taking care of people or making sure they can get the care they need. That's just simply the way it has to be. So failure to reach down and embrace the value of compassion through love, through recognition that if we're going to care for people, we should do it in the best possible way, then you should easily embrace the Medicare for all concept. And it would be completely consistent with your Christian values, because your current opposition to the Medicare for all concept is rooted in irrational fear and even hatred. There's just such a concern that you're going to lose your religion, that you're going to end up paying too much taxes for anything. But it turns out not to be true. Those are irrational perspectives that for some reason you're clinging to, and what's worse is you're clinging to them thinking that you're fully justified through the body of Christ, through the literal Word of God. All of this would tell you that we have to do this. And it's not true. It's just not. And you're not being honest. You need to be better. You need to have greater self-reflection, that if you really do have a spiritual connection to Christ, that you truly embrace that value of love, that wants you to be compassionate to the whole human race. I mean, you should want to. It should be such a natural transition for you. And it's such a simple thing. We would all, wherever we can, we would all be contributing to the healthcare system through, payroll deduction or something, just like the way Medicare is taken out. We can do the same thing and be more effective, more efficient. It would cost less. It would actually save money over the course of 10 years. Some studies show at least $2 trillion. That's just incredible. So please don't give me the money excuse, because that's pathetic. It's time to just recognize that, well, we have to be more efficient about how we try to cover people. And what's more important is that we should want to. Because your Christian value would say, yes, of course, this is what we want to do for everyone. And if you can't do that, then there's something seriously wrong. Something that really says your ignorance or your refusal to embrace that compassionate value of your Christ-like thinking means you don't have a good connection with Christ. So you need to really reflect on it. Well, gee, why don't I want Medicare for all? It should make sense to me that I should want to make sure that everybody's cared for. And then hopefully you come into the realization, well, I guess I don't want to because I don't want to pay all the taxes because it's going to cost me more. Well, studies have shown that that's not true. You're actually going to pay less because everybody will pay into it. And it'll be run much more effectively, and it isn't going to be profit-based. It's going to make sure that we can take care of everyone smartly. I mean, it has to be done smartly. And yes, there does have to be oversight. And we have to make sure that we're not wasting money. Believe me, I understand your concern about government inefficiency. But compared to commercial health insurance, there's just no brainer. They're constantly trying to find ways to maximize profit and minimize coverage. That should not be the goal of healthcare. So, face it, Christians, face it. If you really have a real spiritual connection with Christ, you would recognize that I'm not just rationalizing. This should make sense to you. So your politics becomes suspicious, and it makes me think that you're really not Christian because you keep embracing these social conservative ideas that are counter to your desire for a relationship with Christ. So stop the nonsense. Get in real. Get real with this. Get really close to Christ, and you really try to discern if what I'm saying is truthful and whether it is really a Christian perspective to have a Medicare for all idea where the government has to run it. We can't trust corporate America. They don't have the motivation to take care of everyone. Their motivation is profit. And because of that, they're not going to show any interest in taking care of anyone except themselves, except their bottom line. And that should be abundantly clear to you. And for you to just keep rallying behind corporate thinking, profit-based thinking, is not a Christian perspective. You need everyone to be able to have basic care in life. Everyone should be able to find a home. And if not, we should find ways to help people. Because you're a Christian, because you have compassion for humanity, and because you want to make sure that those in need get what they need. And yes, you have to show it with dignity and respect and all these other things. I know people don't like to be given handouts because they don't. It is embarrassing. And this is another reason. Medicare for all is for everyone, so it would not be a handout. It wouldn't be a special program for those that can't take care of themselves. No, this would be the program for everyone. So there would be no need to make people feel less because somehow they're getting this benefit and you're not. So that is just another reason. It's not only being compassionate, but it's showing the integrity and the decency that people need to feel like they belong to a society. So having the same healthcare system for everyone will make everyone feel better. Because you won't feel like you're just giving out handouts to people who can't take care of themselves, Although if you're a Christian, you shouldn't have that kind of judgmental attitude. So there shouldn't be any scoffing at the fact that some people struggle in this country. A lot of people struggle in this country. You should be more compassionate. But now you get both. People who get to have Medicare coverage through the government because it's the system for everyone don't have to feel like they're not pulling their own weight or something. So you can stop that kind of judgmental attitude and start embracing real compassionate care for everyone. I mean, ultimately everyone in the world, but right now it's just America. And I know I probably shouldn't have said that because as a conservative, you're going to just freak out. Oh, that means it's going to cost us forever. No. If we can find a way, we should. Because that should be your motivation as a Christian. And right now, it is really possible for a rich country like the United States to cover everyone, make sure everyone has access to Medicare and contributes whatever it is they can to this system. And it will help. And you won't pay more taxes, you'll pay less. It will cost you less than it would cost you to keep up your insurance program through commercial health insurance companies. So the economic argument is ridiculous. The Christian argument, where you're not, somehow the perverted argument that somehow we're not supposed to hand out, we want people to step up and take care of themselves. You know, God helps those that help themselves. Well, that argument is nonsense. Because in this case, where we can help everyone, we're helping ourselves and everyone else, and it's going to cost us less. There's just no more reason for us to act like, this is, being put out, that the government keeps wanting to spend more of your hard-earned tax dollars, which is no longer a legitimate argument. It's not true. The government can cover everybody, be more efficient, actually cost less, save money in the long run, and it should satisfy at least part of your compassionate relationship with Christ, that you are in fact in favor of showing compassion to everyone, and that this just makes good sense. So sticking to a social conservative agenda that, refuses, you live in such fear about the government that you're just making your relationship with Christ worse. It's worse. You throw away your values because of your social conservative ideas about government and government control and government somehow turning into this big brother concept and denying you your religious freedom. You got to let that go. You got to trust in Jesus. You got to trust in God. You got to trust in the values of compassion to realize, it's time. We really should be able to take care of everyone, because ultimately we want to take care of everyone. We want everyone to be cared for. I don't want you to feel like you have to take care of them. I want everyone to be cared for, and they should be part of a system where everyone can get what they need. In this case, healthcare. So stop with the fear baiting, stop with the hating, stop with the judgmental attitudes. Really, you look deep within you, find that spiritual connection to Christ, and you really genuinely ask yourself, is this really the best way we can show compassion to all Americans, that especially those that are in need? And the answer, the answer should be yes, because that's why I can suspect if your politics includes a position where you do not want people to have health care, because you think it's going to cost too much, or whatever justification you come up with, then I know that your claim that you have this close personal relationship with Christ is absolutely questionable. It is doubtful that you have such a connection. You're a Christian in name only. You really do not want what Jesus wanted you to value. And that's why you really got to reflect on this. So your politics is making me suspicious and making everyone suspicious that you're not really a Christian, that you really don't have Christian values. So without the Christian values, you can't really call yourself a Christian. Not really. So make that connection, find the spiritual depth within you, make that connection to the divine, really start to discern what is truth in your world. And when you come and reflect upon a concept of Medicare for all, that should be a no-brainer. That should clearly be a discerning factor where you recognize, oh, sure, this is a Christian value. This is what I should be doing. This is what I should be embracing, because as a Christian, I really do care for all of humanity. Even if I am afraid of them, I do want all of us to rise up, be better people than we are, and make sure everyone gets what they need. And if you can do that, you'll be a better Christian. That'll be a powerful thing for you to go through. If you can make that leap, that discerning realization that your politics as a social conservative is not serving your Christian belief, your Christian relationship, not even your belief. Well, forget about the belief. We're just talking about the relationship that you have with Christ, where you can feel and discern the truth of something because you have the four values of non-judgment, forgiveness, love, which includes compassion for everyone, not just love of yourself or your family, compassion for everyone. Because ultimately, Jesus wanted peace on earth. He came into this world with the idea that he was here for peace on earth and goodwill towards everyone. So you should embrace that perspective, that goal, that aspiration. That's what you should aspire to. All right. I've said my piece. I thank you very much. If you want to comment, write to me at monkliving@gmail.com. That's monkliving, monkliving @gmail.com. Thank you very much.